All right, so what's happened in the last 7 days with the Northern Virginia real estate market? Stay tuned. We're going to go in depth. We're going to look at the numbers and we're going to give you all of the up-to-date information. My name is Sean Price. I am with the Price and Price Group here at eXp Realty. And this is the Northern Virginia market report for the last 7 days. If you watched my video last week, I also did a month-over-month video so that you could see how August of 2022 compared to August of 2021. If you haven't watched that video, please, whatever platform you're watching this on, go back and watch that video because I think the information is going to surprise you. A lot of people are asking questions about when is the crash going to come, when are prices coming down, what is going on in the market, and the fact of the matter is we're not seeing the mechanics of the prices coming down. We can only look at what we can look at, we can only see what we can see, and the numbers give us the evidence versus our emotional perception and versus what we're hearing in the news. And I want to bring up real quick the items that I've seen personally in the news. There's a lot of language in the news right now that is trying to communicate that the real estate market is crashing. That they're giving the anticipation that prices will start coming down very, very soon, or they're actually giving the impression that prices are coming down. They'll say things like real estate is down 18% nationwide, real estate is down 23% nationwide. The fact of the matter is, yes, real estate is down. Real estate transactions are down. As the interest rates have gone up, the number of transactions have changed. And in some parts of the country, as interest rates have gone up, the median house price has actually come down as well. So that can be twisted to say that house values are dropping. The simple fact is, when you look at how, and if I go into detail on this on the video that I did August or 2022 versus 2021, but the simple fact of the matter is median house price is calculated by taking the total number of sales and picking the midpoint of those sales, and that's the median house price. So if the median house price, first of all, in our area in Northern Virginia, the median house price actually has not started coming down. But in some areas of the country where that is happening, the median house price is only indicative of the sales price of houses that have sold. So it does make logical sense that as interest rates go up, buyers, the same pool of buyers, would end up buying a less expensive home because it would be less affordable. So the houses that would sell would be the lower priced houses. So what's more important is to look at what are the values of these houses. So if the median sales price is coming down, that just tells us that the houses that sold in that particular market were less expensive than the houses that had previously sold. It doesn't tell us that the value of those houses came down. It doesn't tell us that a $500,000 house is now selling for $450,000. No, it's telling us that buyers that were looking for $500,000 houses are now looking for $450,000 houses because that's what they can afford. It doesn't mean the individual house value is going down. It just means that the sales amount is going down. So just keep that in mind when you see if median house prices start moving or if you see things like that happening. The way that you can determine what the value of a home is and if a home's value is actually dropping is by getting very, very specific to that house. You can't do it market wide. You have to do it very specific to the house, very specific to a neighborhood. For example, there are, in our market, house prices are not dropping, median house prices are not dropping. Sales prices are dropping because sellers are now starting to try to take advantage of the equity that they gained through this massive appreciation. And a lot of sellers and agents actually are overpricing properties, and buyers now can be a little more discerning. They don't have to pay these extra high prices. They can actually pay what the market value is. So as properties come down, as sales prices come down, they're closing at or just slightly above the actual market value of the home. So market values are not changing. Market values are actually still continuing to appreciate. It's the sales price that on occasion you will see coming down. So keep that in mind. So what does this mean for a seller? As a seller, if you're going to put your house on the market right now, you have to forget about the way it was 6 months ago or 8 months ago before the interest rates went up. You can't just throw any house on the market, get multiple offers, sell it for above asking, and move forward from there. You have to price the house appropriately. You have to price the house based on its condition. And you have to be strategic in how you're doing it. And your agent is actually going to have to work for you to get the house sold. Buyers, what this means for you is the valuation of a house is that much more important. If you're working with a buyer's agent that doesn't know how to accurately figure out what the market value of a house is, you could still end up overpaying for a property just because that's the asking price. What's actually happening is if a property is priced $50,000 over asking price, well, you can still get it for the actual market value. And if your agent knows how to run those comps and knows how to see what the value is, that agent can come in and they can price you appropriately. Or if the house sits on the market long enough, eventually the seller will come down and you can meet that. So buyers, it's a good time to buy because you're not having to overpay for property. It's a lot of buyers think that they're looking for that perfect market condition. And 8 months ago, interest rates were fantastic, but prices were too high. Now the reason for not wanting to buy is because prices are better, but interest rates are too high. So just remember, you don't marry your interest rate. You only date your interest rate. You marry your property. So you buy your property when the interest rates calm down. If you can get it refinanced and get a better interest rate. So basically, buyers, you have to be very strategic. You have an opportunity to be very strategic and pay the right price for a home. Just make sure that your agent knows how to do that for you. Sellers, it's still a great time to sell. You're still going to recapture all that equity that came in. You're just not going to be able to get 10, 15, 20% above ask. So unless you underprice it, you generate the activity and everything, but you're still going to end up around the market value, maybe a little bit higher. So just be very strategic on either side. It's a great time for sellers to sell because you can recapture that equity. Buyers, it's still a good time for you to buy simply because the market has continued to appreciate. And we don't see any mechanics for the prices to be coming down soon. So there's just nothing showing that the demand is being that supply is too high for demand, because that's what brings prices down, is when there's too many properties and not enough buyers. And right now we're just not seeing that. So let's get into the numbers. I'll show you exactly what I mean. Okay. So as always, the orange line is our buyer activity and the blue line is our inventory. So we talked about this last week. We talked about how inventory had gone down and stayed low. So it had taken 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks that it had gone down low. Buyer activity had kind of flatlined because there wasn't much inventory. And then what ended up happening is buyer activity right here, and this was also around the time that school started. So the buyers took a little bit of a break as well for that couple weeks right around school starting. And then what happened is buyer activity picked up very, very quickly and it bought all this excess. So when buyer activity upticked here, we had this spike in the seller's market. Well, then what happened is, since all that inventory was gone, there was nothing left to buy because inventory was so low. Buyer activity dropped significantly last week. So not this past 7 days, but the previous 7 days. Buyer activity dropped dramatically. Inventory increased. So I said last week, okay, inventory has increased this 7 days, so we expect buyer activity to increase in the following 7 days. And it did. Buyer activity went up. You see this increase on inventory, matching increase in buyer activity. Well, on this week, this current 7-day cycle, inventory increased another 32%. So I expect next week to see buyer activity go up again. So I expect to see this number continuing to go up. So the important fact of that is that, yes, the market activity is starting to pick up again now that we're outside of the school starting period. So the market activity is starting to pick up again. But the really good news for both buyers and sellers is if you go over to the seller's market, we're still kind of in that neutral market. So it's not the chaos of a strong seller's market and it's not declining prices of a strong buyer's market. It's a neutral, healthy market. And again, if you go back and watch the August summary video, you'll see that there's a lot of evidence showing that is something that will probably continue to occur. Now, one thing to notice here, this spike and this increase in activity happened last year on September 13th. We are now at September 14th. So it'll be interesting to see if next week, if we get another spike and if we start this pattern again. So that'll tell us if last year's season was a was abnormal, which I kind of expect it was. I expect us to stay more of a neutral market, but I wouldn't be surprised based on all the activity. I will tell you this week there have been a lot of buyers calling. There have been a lot of properties going off the market. There's been a lot of activity. So if you have any questions or if you'd like me to do a valuation on your personal home, let me know. I'm happy to do it. Just reach out to me. We can see what your house value is so you can kind of see where you are with everything. Also, if you would do me a huge favor, if you would please, I think it's click the thumbs up to like this video and subscribe to our channel so we can get our market report out to more people. That would be extremely helpful. All right, if you have any questions, please let me know and we'll see you on next week's video.